Hi everyone, I'm Azita Shamshirsaz, real estate advisor here in Los Angeles. Today I'm joined by Afshin Asher, a probate and trust attorney. We are talking about something many families don't feel prepared for. What happened to a home when a loved one passed away? If you inherit property or you are a trustee or executor, there are legal steps that must happen before a sale. So today we'll explain it clearly and simply. Afshin, thank you for being here. Let's start with the basics. What is probate in California?
Thank you so much for inviting me. Probate is simply the process of transferring assets from a deceased person to whoever is entitled to inherit those assets. When a person passes away, I'm joking right now, but obviously they're not able to sign a deed to transfer their home to their child or whoever they want to leave something to. And so when they're no longer able to sign that deed, the person that can, in essence, sign that deed for them is a probate judge. And as you can imagine, a probate judge is not just going to go and transfer something without maintaining certain formalities. So they would want to make sure that anybody who is entitled to receive notice of the death has received notice. They want to make sure that the taxes have been paid. They would want to make sure that the state government has been reimbursed for any medical expenses. And also, lastly, they want to make sure the creditors of the person have been paid, the credit card bills and medical bills and any other debt they had. And once they make sure that all of that is taken care of and everything is accounted for, then the judge will sign over the transfer of property to whoever's getting it.
Okay, perfect. So you basically told us when is probate required. How long do you think that usually this process take?
When I started practicing, the process would take us typically 9 months. And in theory, it could still take about 9 months.
Okay.
But in practice, very rarely. It seems like it takes about 1.5 to 2 years in LA County.
Wow.
But I want to say that if everything goes perfectly smoothly and everything is very efficient, it could be as fast as 9 months. And also on the flip side, it could take even longer than 2 years. So there's a wide range depending on the complexity of the estate, the family dynamics, and tax issues.
Okay, so is that possible if there is a home involved in a probate to sell the home during this process, or they have to wait until the process is over?
No, absolutely. Once an administrator or an executor has been appointed, then that person can sell real estate during the probate.
I heard that there is a difference between full authority and limited authority. Can you explain it for our viewers? What's the difference?
Of course. Usually the distinction comes up in, first of all, in the amount of bond that the executor or administrator must obtain. So if you want full authority, you have to post a greater bond than you do when you have limited authority. But the difference is that with full authority, the administrator or executor can generally sell without auctioning the property in court and getting court approval. With limited authority, you have to go through a process and see if there are other parties who are interested and get some court approval. But then you pay less for the bond. So it's always a balancing act.
Okay, perfect. So is court confirmation always required for probate or not always?
No, only in the case of limited authority.
Okay. Well, I should add, from the real estate side, we often coordinate closely with the attorney to make sure timelines match court requirements. This coordination is basically always necessary and make a big difference. I know that so many people putting their houses or properties on trust, so if a home is in a living trust, it means that they can avoid probate, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's not the only way to avoid probate, but it is the most common and probably the best way to avoid probate is by holding title to real estate in the name of a trust.
Okay, and then it makes selling the property much simpler than probate that the properties that they are on probate. I mean,
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
okay.
There's no court involvement at all.
So what happens if heirs disagree about selling the property in probate?
So it's not the heir's decision about whether you sell property or not. It is the decision of the administrator or executor.
Okay.
But it's good practice, even with full authority, to notify the heirs of your intent to sell and describe the transaction, the proposed sale price, the terms of the sale. We call that a notice of proposed action. And if there is a fight, then they could potentially go to court and try to object to the sale. But ultimately, then the court would have to resolve that dispute. But hopefully, they will rely on the decision of the administrator/executor.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who just lost a parent and feels overwhelmed?
Sometimes it is overwhelming. What I always tell people is sometimes people call me like before they even go to the funeral. And I tell them, okay, take a breath. Nothing is an immediate emergency. And do not look at the whole mountain. We just look at every step we have to take. And so we sit and we go step by step because you can take a step. If you just look at the whole horizon, it may seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
But if you just go step by step, it's manageable.
Makes it easier. Yes, big time. When should a realtor be brought into the process? I know that when they first start, they have to talk to a lawyer just like yourself. And then when do you think is a time that they have to include the real estate for the property?
If they're contemplating selling the property, I think that a realtor could be helpful right off the bat, even before listing, to discuss, sometimes it's necessary to make improvements to the house to get a better price. Sometimes the realtor can really describe how the market is like right now better than even an appraiser could. Okay. So it's helpful to sit with a realtor and try to gain a realistic expectation of what will happen, and that will maybe inform their decision ultimately about whether they want to sell or not and the timing for the sale.
Exactly. They have to know their options. Maybe they have to rent it. Maybe the market is not good for that property, or it's
exactly.
good to sit down with the experts and talk and see what is the best option for them.
I agree.
Well, thank you, Afshin. This is such a good information for our viewers. If you are navigating probate or trust administration and real estate is involved, don't try to handle everything alone. Make sure you have proper legal guidance and a real estate professional who understands estate transactions. If you have a question about selling a probate or trust property in the Los Angeles area, I'm happy to have a confidential conversation and coordinate directly with your attorney. Thank you for watching.